My sister's boyfriend mocked my coding project at her birthday, so I exposed his firm stealing my work with NDA proof and watched his career collapse publicly. Hey. My family's always been about looks and status, not truth. I kept my head down, built something real, and thought I was free. Then my sister's new boyfriend decided to mock me and accidentally expose the fact his firm was trying to steal my work. Let me start from the beginning. Northwest House was the kind of place with gold menus and staff who judged your shoes. My dad, Gerald, loved it. He'd been talking about getting a table there for weeks, pretending it wasn't breaking his credit card limit. It was Riley's 27th birthday, my sister, and he wanted it to look like we were the kind of family that belonged there. When I walked in, they were already seated. My parents looked like they were attending a charity gala, not a dinner. Riley was glowing in a dress she'd probably bought just for the photos. Beside her was Trent, her boyfriend. Slick hair, perfect smile, expensive watch angled just right under the light. He was talking too loudly, the kind of guy who fills silence just to hear himself win. Logan. Dad waved me over like I'd arrived late to a performance. "Glad you made it!" "Wouldn't miss it," I said, taking my seat. The waiter poured wine. Everyone else ordered the most overpriced dishes on the menu. I stuck with coffee. Trent was in the middle of explaining to my mom how real business is about risk, not comfort. He had a voice made for conference calls, confident but hollow. Gerald nodded like a proud parent. "See, Logan, that's the attitude I'm always talking about. Trent's not afraid to go after what he wants." Riley laughed, loving every second of it. "Yeah, maybe you could pick up a few things from him." I smiled politely. "I'm good, thanks." Trent leaned back, smirking. "So, what do you do again? Something with spreadsheets and fraud or whatever?" "I run data systems that detect fraud patterns," I said. He chuckled. "Oh, one of those tiny tools. My firm's actually looking at something like that right now. What's it called? Core Metric. Cute little side project. We could rebuild it in a week." The family laughed. I set my fork down. "You'd need longer than that," I said. "Because you'd need my permission." Trent's smile wavered. "Sorry? It's mine," I said evenly. "I built it. Every line of code. Your firm's already under NDA for the demo." The air shifted. The waiter froze halfway to another table. My mom's eyes darted toward Dad. Trent forced a laugh. "That's cute. You're telling me you made Core Metric?" "I'm not telling you," I said. "I'm confirming it. Patent application filed 2 years ago. Licensing deals signed last quarter. 7.2 million. The laughter stopped. Riley's smile fell. "Logan, what are you even talking about?" "Ask your boyfriend," I said. "He just bragged about rebuilding something he doesn't have rights to." Trent straightened up. "You're misunderstanding." "I'm not," I cut in. "And before you dig deeper, remind your team that stepping outside the demo scope violates the NDA. If I see any traffic beyond the sandbox, legal will get involved." Silence? Dad tried to recover. "All right, enough business talk. Let's focus on Riley's birthday, huh?" I turned to him. "You wanted risky, Dad? That's 7 million worth of risk. You keep saying I play it safe. Maybe the problem is you don't recognize quiet work until someone else brags about it." He opened his mouth, then closed it again. I picked up my napkin, folded it neatly beside my plate. "Happy birthday, Riley!" No one said anything. I flagged the waiter, asked for my check, and paid before they could offer to cover it. Trent stared down at his untouched steak. Riley looked like she was trying to decide if she should be angry or embarrassed. As I stood, my dad finally spoke. "Logan, don't make this a scene." I looked at him. "You made it one, the moment you decided respect was optional." Then I walked out. When I got home from that dinner, I didn't feel proud. I just felt steady. No shaking, no anger. I hung up my jacket, turned on the desk lamp, and opened my laptop out of habit. Core Metrics dashboard glowed on the screen, quiet and precise. Everything running exactly how I'd built it. It reminded me why I'd done all this in the first place. "My name's Logan Hart, 30 years old. I've been a data systems analyst for most of my adult life. The guy companies call when their numbers stop adding up. I don't wear suits or chase titles. I fix things. That used to be my role at home too. Growing up, our house ran on image. My dad, Gerald, loved talking about his business connections, which usually meant people he met once at a golf course. My mom, Diane, played along, keeping everything spotless and polite. My sister Riley was the star. Every report card, every event, every small win, Dad bragged like she cured cancer. I was the quiet one who got A's because I was supposed to, not because anyone cared. After college, I went into accounting tech, then risk analytics. Safe jobs, predictable paychecks. I climbed quietly and realized it didn't matter how well I did. Someone above me always took the credit. Every new boss smiled, praised my attention to detail, and used my reports to impress someone higher up. I was building everyone's career but my own. One night, around 3 years ago, I was going through a company's audit logs. I spotted a pattern that no one else saw, an error buried deep in the data stream that revealed internal fraud. It hit me then. The system could have caught it if it were smarter. That thought sat in my head for days. Eventually, I quit asking why nobody else saw it and started building something that would. I didn't have funding or a team, just my desktop, a notebook full of equations, and a cheap pot of coffee that never left the counter. I named the project Core Metric. It started as a small detection script, then grew into a full engine that could map inconsistencies across millions of transactions. I coded until sunrise most nights, rewrote half of it twice, crashed it more times than I can count. About a year in, Core Metric finally started performing beyond my expectations. It didn't just detect basic fraud, it predicted it. It could flag potential manipulations before they happened. I realized I had something real. I wanted to test the market quietly, without giving anyone my name or background. So, I created a shell company, Verity Line Systems, and sent demo access requests to a few mid-sized financial and consulting firms. Each demo ran inside a read-only remote VM, VDI, with time limits and layered encryption. Access started with an NDA splash screen that clearly disclosed session recording and clickstream logging. If someone tried to bypass the internal API, the server-side recorder flagged it and bookmarked the attempt. Most firms responded professionally. Some ignored it. One, though, hit the server harder than the rest. Their domain matched a consulting firm I vaguely recognized from LinkedIn posts, something to do with corporate restructuring. The access logs showed multiple pings beyond the demo's limits. It was suspicious, but I shrugged it off. I figured maybe their IT team was just sloppy. A few weeks later, Axton Holdings, a parent company that owns several consulting and restructuring firms, including Trenway Consulting, reached out. They wanted a full licensing discussion. I spent 3 days preparing a presentation that no one ever saw because after one call, Axton made an offer I didn't expect, $7.2 million for an exclusive global license to Core Metric. I didn't negotiate. I just said yes. The contract hit my inbox 2 weeks later. I read it line by line. Every clause made sense. I signed, got the transfer confirmation, and closed my laptop. There wasn't a celebration, no champagne, no phone calls, just quiet. I didn't tell anyone. Not my co-workers, not even the one friend who might have cared, definitely not my family. I could already hear Dad saying, 7 million? Must have gotten lucky, or Riley laughing, so it's just some fraud app. No, I didn't want that. I wanted silence. I wanted to wake up, open my computer, and see something I built still running perfectly without anyone's approval hanging over it. That night, staring at the dashboard, I thought about how weird it was. My parents spent their whole lives chasing the appearance of success, and I had it sitting quietly on a hard drive in my apartment. No bragging, no spotlight, just work that worked. Core Metric didn't care about opinions or family hierarchy. It didn't care if someone laughed or believed. It did what I designed it to do, find the truth hidden under noise. The irony wasn't lost on me. By the time I shut down my computer, it was almost midnight. The city outside was silent, and for the first time that day, so was my head. I had a hunch, but I hadn't confirmed that Trent's firm was the one pushing past the sandbox. I wouldn't know until I pulled the logs, but I did know one thing. Keeping quiet had worked for a long time. It wouldn't much longer. A week after Riley's birthday dinner, I was back to my usual routine: coffee, laptop, and quiet. I hadn't heard from my parents since that night, which meant they were either pretending it didn't happen or blaming me behind the scenes. That was fine. Silence was easier. I opened LinkedIn during a short break, mostly out of habit. And there it was, Trent's post sitting at the top of my feed. Owning code isn't innovation. Execution is. Short, smug, and vague enough to look motivational to his followers. It had a few dozen likes from people who probably didn't know he couldn't execute a sandwich without a meeting. I didn't need a name tag to know that post was about me. The tone was identical to the one he used at dinner, the kind of arrogance that comes from thinking everyone around you is disposable. I stared at it for a few seconds, then opened my drive and pulled up the old Verity Line logs. I hadn't checked them in months. The deal had been closed for a while, and Core Metric was running under Axton Holdings' systems now. Still, something about that post pushed me to look. The logs took a minute to load. I scrolled through dates, scanning the usual demo traffic, Most firms had clean footprints, standard test access, timeouts, no breaches. But then I saw a name that made me stop. Trenway Consulting. The same logo that appeared on Trent's business card at dinner. Their IP addresses showed up repeatedly, hammering the system long after demo access expired. The attempts weren't random. They were targeted, crawling through data endpoints like someone trying to map the structure of the engine. It wasn't curiosity, it was theft. The activity spanned over 3 weeks right after I'd sent out the limited demo links. At least a dozen distinct users, all tagged under Trenway's domain. They hadn't just tested it, they'd tried to replicate it. And then I saw the alert buried near the bottom of the log file. Trigger activated, recorded, session saved. I'd forgotten I'd even added that safeguard. Back when I was testing core metric, I built a small security layer into the remote VM demo. When someone tried to bypass the internal API, the server-side session recorder disclosed on the NDA splash screen and banned recording, bookmarked, and saved a clip. It wasn't fancy, just insurance. I opened the folder where those captures were stored. One file, timestamped 6 months ago. It loaded instantly. Grainy at first, then clear. A conference room, fluorescent lighting, laptop screens open. 3 people. Trent sat at the head of the table, jacket off, sleeves rolled. 2 engineers beside him, one typing, the other scrolling through lines of code on a monitor. Trent was talking. His voice had that same confident rhythm from dinner. Look, the algorithm's straightforward. We just replicate the logic. Rename the parameters, and we're fine. The demo's got limited access, but we can get around that. The younger engineer hesitated. That's not legal under the NDA we signed. Trent didn't blink. Legal's for the lawyers. We're just exploring. Once we have our version built, we can tweak the model and call it independent. The other engineer spoke up quietly. But it's his code. Trent smirked. Then he should have protected it better. I paused the video there. My face didn't move. I just leaned back, hands clasped, and replayed it from the start. Watched every second, every smug expression, every instruction. I'd expected arrogance. I hadn't expected proof this clean. I saved the file twice, renamed it, and uploaded it to a private encrypted folder. Then I drafted a short email to my attorney. No long explanation, just the facts. Unauthorized access attempts recorded, evidence attached. 10 minutes later, I sent the same message to Axton Holdings' legal department, which holds Core Metrics' exclusive license. Their system auto-acknowledged receipt. That was enough, for now. I didn't call anyone, didn't text, didn't post. I just sat there with the video paused at the frame where Trent was pointing at my code, bragging about stealing it. His watch caught the light, the same one he'd worn to Riley's birthday dinner. The quiet in my apartment felt different that night. Not heavy, not tense, just clear. I wasn't angry. I'd already wasted enough emotion on people like him. Anger made you sloppy. I preferred precision. I closed the video, labeled the folder pending, and opened Core Metrics' main dashboard. The system was still running smoothly under its corporate license, active contracts, live monitoring, thousands of data streams. Every number on that screen represented proof that the work stood on its own, even without me defending it. I shut the laptop, leaned back, and let out one steady breath. I'd done my part. The evidence was solid. The right people had it, and I didn't need to chase a reaction. Trent thought execution mattered more than ownership. He was about to learn what ownership actually looked like. And for once, I wasn't going to warn anyone. I was going to wait. 3 days after I sent the video to the lawyers, my phone started lighting up. It was a group text from Mom. Mom, you embarrassed Riley in front of her boyfriend. That dinner was supposed to be special. Before I could even finish reading it, another message came in. Dad, you always have to prove something. Can't you just let others talk for once? I didn't reply. There was no point. They didn't care that Trent had mocked me or that his firm was under NDA with mine. All they cared about was how it looked. An hour later, Riley sent her version. It was a paragraph broken into little dramatic lines like she was writing a speech. You ruined my birthday. You made Trent look stupid in front of everyone. You always find a way to make things about you. I finally bring someone who makes me happy, and you have to tear him down. Not one word about the truth, not one question, just blame. I put the phone down and got back to work. I wasn't angry, just tired. I'd built something real. They'd built a stage. 2 nights later, I got another text from Riley. No punctuation this time, just one sentence. Please don't ruin this for me. I stared at it for a few seconds and deleted it. Whatever this was, her image, her relationship, her perfect little story, it wasn't my problem. The next week was quiet. No calls, no apologies. My parents didn't reach out again, which usually meant they were planning something behind the scenes. They never stayed silent unless it was strategic. I was right. A week later, I came home to a thick, cream-colored envelope sitting in my mailbox. The handwriting on the front was Mom's looped, perfect cursive that probably took her 3 tries. Inside was an embossed invitation. You are cordially invited to celebrate the engagement of Riley Hart and Trent Whitmore at the Crestline Country Club. There was no note, no message, not even a hope you can come. Just the address, date, and RSVP card already filled out in Mom's handwriting. I leaned against the counter and laughed once under my breath. It wasn't an invitation, it was an order disguised in gold ink. I flipped the card over. At the bottom, in small print, it said, "Formal attire requested. Family photos at 7 p.m., of course. A public reset. Bring the family back together, smile for the pictures, pretend the dinner never happened." Mom had always done this, repainting messes with nice lighting. If someone got fired, she called it a career shift. If Riley failed a class, it was a scheduling issue. If I called out hypocrisy, it was Logan being difficult again. I put the card on my desk and went back to checking core metrics dashboards. Everything was running clean. Axton's legal department had already acknowledged receipt of my report. No updates yet, which meant they were taking it seriously. I didn't plan to go to that party. The thought of standing in a room full of people pretending nothing happened made my skin crawl. But I couldn't stop thinking about that last text. "Please don't ruin this for me." She didn't mean it as a plea for peace. It was a warning. Stay quiet so she could keep pretending her life was perfect. My silence had always been her cover. That's when I decided I was done being her background. If they wanted to reunite the family, I'd show up. Not to fight, not to yell, just to tell the truth once and for all, where everyone could see it. The following day, Mom called. I let it ring out twice before answering. "Logan, honey," she said in that overly cheerful tone she used for guests, not family. "You got your invitation, right?" "I got it." "Oh, good. I just wanted to make sure. It's going to be beautiful. The Witters have been such a joy to work with. You'll come, won't you?" "I'm thinking about it." Her voice shifted, still polite but harder underneath. "It's important that you're there for Riley. For the family. Let's put the past behind us." "The past," I said. "You mean last week?" "Don't be difficult," she snapped, then softened instantly. "We all say things we don't mean sometimes." "Trent tried to steal my work, Mom." A pause. Then, "That's business. These things happen. You shouldn't take it personally." There it was. The mask slipping. I'd heard that tone my whole life, the one that meant, "You're right, but you're not allowed to be." I didn't argue. I just said, "I'll see what I can do," and hung up. That night, I put the invitation in a drawer. For a while, I convinced myself I'd ignore it. But the more I thought about it, the more it felt like the final test. Every part of me that used to keep peace was telling me to stay home. Every part that was tired of swallowing their pride was telling me to go. So I made a deal with myself. I'd show up once. No scenes, no shouting, just facts. If they wanted a picture-perfect family, they'd get the full image, truth included. I opened my calendar and marked the date. Crestline Country Club engagement party. It was time to finish what Trent had started. The Crestline Country Club looked like a movie set. Crystal chandeliers hung over every table. Candles flickered inside glass holders, and a string quartet played soft background music no one was listening to. The air smelled like perfume and money. Every person in the room was there to be seen, not to celebrate. I walked in wearing a dark suit, clean and simple, no flash, no pretense. Mom spotted me instantly and glided over like she'd been rehearsing. She gripped my arm just a little too tightly and whispered through her smile, "Please, no confrontations tonight. This evening is important. Relax," I said, pulling my arm back gently. "I'm just here to watch." The tension in her jaw said she didn't believe me, but she smoothed it away with another practiced smile and led me toward the main hall. Riley and Trent stood near the center of the room, surrounded by guests. She looked radiant, camera ready, and stiff under all the attention. Trent, on the other hand, thrived on it. He wore a tailored suit that probably cost more than most people's rent and was in full performance mode, laughing too loud, clinking glasses, greeting everyone like a politician at a fundraiser. Dad was already talking to a small group near the stage, his voice carrying just enough to make sure people heard him say, my daughter's engagement. When he saw me, he gave the kind of nod reserved for Kyo workers you tolerate. The announcement started soon after. The lights dimmed and Gerald took the mic, smiling like he just closed a deal. I just want to say how proud we are, he began. Riley and Trent represent everything this family stands for: ambition, success, unity, and forgiveness. He looked straight at me on that last word. Polite applause followed. I clapped once. Then Trent took the mic, clearly itching for the spotlight. He thanked everyone for coming, complimented Riley, then shifted gears like he'd been waiting for the setup. "This is a big year," he said, voice steady and confident. "My firm has been working on an exciting acquisition deal that's about to close. It's a major leap for us, something that'll redefine the industry." I was standing near the back of the room next to a table lined with champagne glasses. I didn't plan to say anything, but the word acquisition hit exactly how he wanted it to. The pause, the smirk, it was bait. He was talking about core metric. I stepped forward just enough for my voice to carry. "You mean core metric?" Every head turned. The sound from the quartet cut off mid-note. Trent froze at the mic, his jaw tightening before he forced a smile. "Logan," he said lightly, "this really isn't the time." "It's exactly the time," I said, walking toward the front. "You like talking about execution, right? Let's show everyone what that looks like." Before he could stop me, I pulled my phone from my jacket and connected it to the projector cable, running into the laptop on the podium. The screen behind him flickered, the slideshow of engagement photos disappearing. The podium laptop was already unlocked, and the video started instantly. There was Trent, same voice, same posture, sitting in a conference room with two engineers. His voice filled the hall through the speakers. "Look, the algorithm's straightforward. We just replicate the logic, rename the parameters, and we're fine. The demo's got limited access, but we can get around that." The crowd went completely still. Someone gasped. Riley's hands flew to her mouth. On screen, one of the engineers said, "That's not legal under the NDA." Trent's reply was clear and cold. "Legal's for the lawyers. We're just exploring." When the clip ended, the room was so quiet I could hear the hum from the projector fan. Trent's face had drained of color. He tried to laugh, but no sound came out. This is taken out of context," he managed. "We were discussing—" I cut him off. "You were discussing theft. That's what you call execution, right? That's my work you were trying to steal." Someone near the back whispered, then another. The sound spread like static. I turned slightly so everyone could hear me. "And by the way, Axton Holdings holds the exclusive license to my system, and your firm reports into Axton. Compliance has my report. Choose your next sentence carefully. No yelling, no dramatics, just the truth dropped like a stone in the middle of their perfect evening." I looked at Riley. Her face had gone pale, eyes wide, tears just starting to form. She didn't say anything. For once, she didn't know how to. Trent stood frozen, still clutching the microphone, staring at the blank projector screen as if he could will it to erase itself. I walked to the podium, unplugged my phone, and placed the mic back in its stand with one quiet click. "Congratulations," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "on the engagement." Then I turned and walked out. Behind me, the room erupted, not loudly, but in the way people whisper when they're afraid to be heard. The string quartet started up again, hesitant and off-tempo. No one clapped. I didn't look back. The morning after the engagement party, I woke up to 3 missed calls and 1 new voicemail from an unknown number. I didn't need to guess who it was from. By the time I brewed coffee, my phone rang again. "This is Morgan Price from Axton Holdings Legal Department." A woman's voice said, "You're Logan Hart, developer of Coremetric, correct?" "Yes. I just want to confirm that the recording you submitted last week matches what we reviewed last night, the one involving Mr. Trent Whitmore and the engineers from Trenway Consulting." "It does." There was a brief silence as she typed something. "Thank you, Mr. Hart. We appreciate your cooperation. You won't be required for further testimony, but we'll keep you updated if anything changes." "Understood." She ended the call with a polite, "Have a good day." Because Trenway operates under Axton's umbrella, compliance handled everything centrally. By noon, another email arrived. Short and direct, as an Axton portfolio firm, Trenway Consulting has terminated Mr. Whitmore's employment, effective immediately. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. Axton Holdings, Legal Compliance Division, that was it. No drama, no drawn-out battle, just consequences delivered by people who didn't need explanations. I closed the email and went back to work. For the first time in weeks, The apartment felt quiet in a good way. Around 3 that afternoon, my phone lit up again. Riley. I let it ring twice before answering. Her voice came through fast and broken. You had no right to do that. Good morning to you too, I said. You humiliated him. You humiliated me. Everyone at that party was talking about it. He lost his job because of you. No, I said evenly. He lost his job because he tried to steal mine. You could have handled it privately. I did. A month ago. His firm ignored it. She went quiet, then sniffed hard. You destroyed everything. Do you know how that makes me look? I leaned back in my chair. You're worried about how you look. You think this is funny? She shouted. No, I said, my voice flat. But I do think it's ironic that the guy you were ready to marry thought breaking the law was just business. I didn't destroy anything, Riley. I just showed everyone what was already true. There was a long pause, then a quiet, bitter, You've always been jealous of me. Jealous? I asked. Of what? She hung up. I didn't call back. 3 days passed without another word from her or my parents. Then, late Thursday morning, my phone buzzed. This time, a text from Dad. We're downstairs. Come out. I looked out my window. Sure enough, their silver SUV was parked by the curb. My mother's shape was clear in the passenger seat, straight-backed and rigid. I debated ignoring them, but part of me wanted to see how far they go to defend appearances this time. I threw on a jacket and went down. They both got out when they saw me. Mom smiled too quickly, the kind of smile that doesn't touch the eyes. Dad's face was serious, his version of calm. Logan. Mom started. We just wanted to talk. I leaned against the driver's door, arms crossed. If you came here to guilt-trip me, leave. Don't start with that tone, Dad said. We're not here to fight. Then what are you here for? Mom sighed. Things have gotten messy. People are talking. Riley's devastated. We need to find a way to make this right. There's nothing to fix, I said. Trent got caught doing something illegal. That's on him. Dad stepped closer. You could have let the company handle it quietly. Instead, you made a scene in front of everyone. You embarrassed her. You embarrassed us. I laughed once. You're still worried about the show, huh? The curtain dropped and you can't stand seeing the stage lights off. Don't be disrespectful, he snapped. We raised you better than this. I pushed off the car and looked him in the eye. You raised me to stay quiet while everyone else took credit. I'm done doing that. Mom reached out like she wanted to grab my arm. Logan, please. We just want peace. You want silence, I said. That's not the same thing. Before either of them could respond, I turned and walked back toward the building. I heard my dad start to say something, but the door closed behind me before he finished. That was the last time I saw them in person. A week later, a new message appeared on my phone. Riley again, lost a client this week. They said they don't want the drama around my name. Hope you're happy. I typed one sentence back. Actions have consequences. Welcome to the adult table? No reply. I archived the conversation. That same evening, I opened the encrypted folder with all the case files, server logs, emails, video recordings, contracts, and compiled them into a single package. I wrote a short note to Axton's compliance director. All related materials regarding the Trenway breach are attached. This closes my involvement. Then I hit send. The confirmation email came a few minutes later, case officially closed. Thank you for your assistance, Mr. Hart. I sat back and watched the message fade from my screen. The whole thing felt strangely simple. Months of arrogance, manipulation, and pretending had come apart in a matter of days, not through revenge or chaos, just by telling the truth where people could hear it. I didn't celebrate. I didn't feel victorious. It wasn't that kind of win. It just felt quiet again, the kind of quiet you get when the noise finally stops pretending to be music. The week after I closed the case, the world finally went still. No more calls, no more messages, no more family drama pretending to be concerned. The constant buzzing of my phone stopped, replaced by silence I didn't realize I'd missed. I opened my phone one last time and scrolled through the group chat labeled family. The last message was from my mom a month earlier. A photo of Riley and Trent at some charity dinner back when everything still looked perfect. I stared at it for a moment, then hit delete chat. No hesitation. It felt like clearing corrupted data. The following morning, an email pinged in my inbox with the subject line, Invitation to Guest Lecture, Eastwood University. I almost ignored it, thinking it was a mistake, but curiosity got the better of me. The message was short, Mr. Hart. We've been following your work on core metric and would love for you to lead a 2-week workshop on digital fraud systems and data integrity. It would be an honor to have your insight. Please let us know your availability. Dr. Lena Miles, Department of Computer Science. Wasn't a big deal by industry standards, but it was genuine. Someone actually valued the work for what it was, not for what it looked like, not for bragging rights, just for its substance. I read it twice, smiled once, and sent a simple reply, "Thank you. I'm available next month. Happy to contribute." No mention of titles, no list of credentials, just work. That afternoon, I checked core metric systems. Everything was running as usual, stable, quiet, efficient. The licensing deal continued generating results for Axton Holdings, and my name was safely written into the credits where it belonged. For the first time in years, there was nothing left to fix. I closed my laptop and sat there, realizing I didn't owe anyone my presence anymore. No job to chain me down, no family expecting me to stay within their script. The world had quietly opened. I opened a flight booking tab, half as a joke. I typed Seoul into the destination bar. The idea had been sitting in the back of my head since college, living abroad, working remotely, starting fresh, where no one knew the old stories. I scrolled through flight times and clicked one way. The confirmation email arrived seconds later, departure in 2 weeks. The next days moved differently. I didn't announce my plans to anyone. I just started preparing, sold what I didn't need, backed up all my files, cleaned the apartment that had doubled as my workspace and safe zone for years. Every time I took another thing off the shelf, the place felt lighter. I spent one night walking through the city. The same streets I'd driven down for years now felt like something I was finally done with. There was a bakery that still smelled like burnt sugar from my late-night coding years, a corner cafe where I used to sit with a laptop and headphones, pretending I didn't hear the conversations around me. It all looked smaller now. 2 days before my flight, I got one last text from an unknown number. "You really left a mark here. Some of us appreciated what you did. Good luck wherever you go." No name, but I knew it was someone from Axton. I didn't reply, but it stayed in my mind. There were still people who believed in quiet integrity. That was enough. On the last morning, I packed the final suitcase, double-checked the apartment, and left my keys on the counter. I stood by the doorway for a minute, looking at the space that had held so many versions of me, the tired analyst, the cautious coder, the guy who thought silence was the safest move. Now, the silence wasn't about safety. It was about choice. I didn't feel dramatic or nostalgic, just ready. The airport was busy when I arrived, a blur of people dragging suitcases and rushing for flights. I checked in early, found a quiet spot near the window, and opened my laptop one last time before boarding. I'd been reading other people's stories for years, but never posted. It felt right now. I clicked New Post and started typing. A while ago, I called out someone for mocking my work in front of my family. Turned out his firm was trying to steal it. I showed proof in public. It didn't go well for them. My family called me arrogant, dramatic, selfish, but I wasn't any of those things. I was just done pretending respect had to be earned by staying silent. I paused, reading it over. It wasn't about revenge or validation. It was just the truth written plainly, the way I'd always preferred it. I finished typing. They thought confidence was arrogance because I stopped apologizing for being right. Some people hate quiet strength because it reminds them they have none. I hit post, closed the laptop, and stood when they called my boarding group. The gate attendant scanned my ticket. I walked down the jet bridge, feeling the hum of the engines through the floor. No tension, no guilt, just motion. As I stepped onto the plane, I realized something simple. Peace doesn't come from fixing broken people or proving you were right all along. It comes from walking away the moment you finally can. I found my seat, looked out the window, and watched the city fade into distance. For the first time in a long time, the quiet wasn't empty. It was freedom.